When you got married, you stared intently into your spouse's eyes and you said some vows to them. And so today on the Celebrate Your Date podcast, we are going to be talking about vows.
And we're not talking about the A-E-I-O-U kind.
Nope. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Celebrate Your Date podcast. I'm Mike. This is my wife, Missy, and we're glad you're here. So if you find this content helpful, share it, like it, subscribe to it, wherever you're watching, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, thank you. And invite your friends. Tell all your friends about it.
Invite people. So the goal here is just to provide a helpful 20 minutes or so of marriage advice, tips, tricks, wisdom, mistakes.
Maybe not so much wisdom.
All of it. I don't know. We've been married almost 30 years, and we just want to build a community of marriages that are striving to be strong, to weather the storms of life, because they're there. And today we're going to talk about vows. And again, we're not talking about A-E-I-O-U vows.
Because sometimes when you say vows, it sounds like vowels. But it's not.
But it's not. We're talking about V-O-W-S vows.
That's right.
And so, again, when you got married, you spent time either creating vows.
That's right.
Or maybe the pastor just had a traditional set of vows. I mean, I'm a pastor and I do a lot of weddings. Every couple wants something a little bit different. But no matter what it is, you made a vow. So what's a vow?
So a vow is, I feel like, even more than just a promise. Like a vow used to be like, that is it. That is like the main thing. When you take a vow, it's serious. It doesn't get broken. Yeah. And a vow is a promise. But again, we do kind of live in an age and a culture where promises and vows, that was back then. I'm different. I've changed. And we don't really believe that, especially when it comes to marriages and your marriage. And what's funny is when I researched on Google and typed in define vows, like everything that came up was like, how to write wedding vows step by step, or vows for him or vows for her. And you know what? In the vows, it talks about like for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. And I think sometimes when people are saying their vows, they don't think, oh, well, we're not going to get there. This is just kind of for the audience and for the video and for the pictures. They don't actually think about what they're saying.
Yeah. And the reality is you say those, and it's a beautiful day, and it's just like the rest of our lives is just going to be, puppy dogs and rainbows and fairy tales. And again, when we got married super young, we thought that. And then when you actually start getting for the worst part and the sickness part and the, all of that, you're like, what did I sign up for? Mm-hmm. And the reality is again, no matter what vows you said, you were making a promise. You were declaring certain things over your spouse and over your marriage. And again, we know that sometimes in today's day and age, we lose sight of the promise we actually made. And unfortunately, a lot of marriages end and they go, well, I didn't mean that, or that was for then. Mm-hmm. And so we want to talk about that. Like some of the things even in vows that you say, what do they mean? Yeah. What does that actually really look like to take that seriously in all kinds of circumstances?
Yeah, because it really shouldn't be just words. It shouldn't just be something that sounds good. Like, I mean, if you're going to say it, then you really should mean it. I mean, you're saying it in front of people, regardless of how you feel. You're saying it in front of your family and your friends and whatever.
So the vows, traditional vows. Again, I'm a pastor. Traditional vows that a lot of couples say.
We went traditional.
We did go traditional. Our wedding was very traditional. It was like frou-free, dresses and flowers and white tuxes and looking back, red carpet in the church. Our family actually offered us like several $1,000s of cash just to like do it and be done with it.
Looking back, we should have
done that totally, but it's all right. And listen, here's the deal: people spend literally years planning their wedding day, and then they really don't plan much else of their
think more about the day,
their actual
the life.
Marriage. Yeah. It's like, let's be honest. You might remember a few things about your wedding day, but you woke up the next morning and you were like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, it's over. I mean, I've spent 2 years planning this, and now we've got the next 50 years of our lives. And so again, we don't really realize that until we're actually there. And so traditional vows are like this. I might take you, Missy, to be my wedded wife, to have and to hold, to love and to cherish, to trust, honor, and respect, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, till death
do us part.
Do us part.
Or if you don't want to really say death in your marriage, you can say for as long as we both
for
shall
as
live.
long as we, if you don't want to talk about
It
death
sounds a little
on
bit
your
nicer.
wedding day, right? Yeah, till for as long as we both shall live, right? So what you're saying is I commit to you in all these different things. So there's 3 things that I just said that we thought like would be a good podcast to just hone in on and talk about. And right in the middle of the vows that I just said, it says to trust, to honor, and to respect. And again, you say those together. So it's not the husband says, I will trust, honor, and respect my wife. The wife also says to the husband to trust, honor, and respect. And again, no matter what your vows were, you included some like, I'm going to love you forever and I'm going to this and I'm going to that. We're going to hone in on that trust, honor,
and honestly,
respect.
and it's trust, honor, and respect in the better for worse.
Yeah.
For the richer, for poor. It's not just in the good times.
Right.
It's in
Right.
the not so good times as well.
So trust.
Yes.
Trust is an absolute foundational part of a good marriage.
That's right. It's so cool because I have been able to be involved in some leadership training at work.
She's a leader.
Well, and it's been pretty cool because, it talks about organizations and like what's important organization. And I found a quote that I came up on and it's so cool. It says the trust is the oxygen to any organization. Because if you don't have trust, your organization is eventually going to die. It's the lifeblood of your whole organization. Yeah. And it's true in our marriages too. Like if we don't have trust, then you're eventually not going to make it because you're going to suffocate each other with just not believing the best and having a good time with each other. So trust is super important.
Yeah. And the reality is with trust, and we can say this because we went through a stretch in our marriage where trust was broken. Is when trust is broken. I mean, it takes one small thing, one decision, one moment of weakness, whatever you want to say. It takes one moment to tear trust down and to lose trust. And then what's crazy is then it takes a long time to rebuild it. But here's what we want you to know. If you're in a relationship, you're in a marriage that there's no trust. Number one, like Missy said, that's the lifeblood of your marriage. There's no oxygen. You feel depleted. You feel tired all the time. You feel like you have no energy because you're always wondering what's going on. Is what they said really true? How can I believe what they said? Where are they at right now because they haven't let me know? And there's a lack of trust. And so you're always questioning. You're always assuming. You're always not believing what they're saying.
Yeah.
And what we want you to know about trust is it can be rebuilt.
That's right. And it does take some time. And honestly, if you want trust in a relationship, you need to be trustworthy. Yeah. You need to show your date that you're worthy of their trust. Yeah. And when that trust is broken, like there has to be complete transparency. Yeah. As hard and as difficult as it is, there has to be complete vulnerability. And I honestly believe, and we kind of adapted this a long time ago, when you're in a relationship, when you're in a marriage bond with each other and you've made these vows and this covenant promise to each other, like there shouldn't be any secrets in marriage.
That's right.
Period. I don't care if it's passwords. I don't care if it's text messages, emails, friendships. Nothing. You should always be willing to answer any question that your spouse has.
Yeah. And sometimes that's hard because we feel like, well, I need my privacy or, I want this or I want that. But the reality is, again, with your spouse, the two become one. Yeah. I mean, like we believe scripture says the two become one. And so you become one person. You share everything, and at the end of the day, again, for us, not to go too deep into it, but for us, when trust was broken, there had to be a higher level of accountability and vulnerability. And here's what's so counterintuitive, especially guys, when trust is broken, we feel like, well, why would I come out and be honest about that? That's going to make my wife mad, or it's going to upset her, or it's going to. But what you have to understand is that over time, you're actually showing her that I'm going to tell you if something's wrong. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you about something. And what's crazy is when trust is broken, it does take a while to be rebuilt, but then once it's beginning to be rebuilt, things start to change.
Yeah, and I feel like built trust can be stronger than before.
Yeah.
If you can really work through the issues and you can trust each other, and you can. It's not just going through the motions. It's actually like learning to trust again. I feel like it can make your relationship stronger.
It can. And something you have to know too, though, that if you're in a relationship where there's trust been broken, at some point you just have to start granting trust. Like
Yeah,
you have to be, like she said, you have to be trustworthy. So it's not like, I was supposed to be home at 5:00. It's 9:00 at night and I'm not told my wife where I am. Well, she should just trust me. Okay, that's a little far stretched. But if it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or it's a little bit later than normal, grant trust until you know.
Yeah, and communication goes huge into trust.
Until you know what's going on, just give trust.
Yeah.
Grant that trust. And again, if it's broken, begin to do little things to rebuild it. If it was, not a trust about finances, then you know what? Hey, today I spent $10. Do I have to tell my wife that I spent $10? No, but if she doesn't trust me with how I handle money and I start telling her these little things that I'm doing so she knows I'm being open, then that causes her to trust more.
Yeah.
So we have to be willing to rebuild it, and it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
It takes a while.
It is, but you know what? It's definitely worth it, because trust is definitely one of the foundations that you have to have strong in your relationship.
You do. And if you don't have trust right now, just again, have a little bit of optimism that it can be rebuilt.
Yeah.
And when it is rebuilt, it's even stronger than it was before.
Thing.
So then trust and honor.
Honor. Now, what do you think of when you hear the word honor?
What do I think of when I hear the word honor?
Yeah.
How
would you describe honor? I came across this thing, and I think it's so cool. When you honor someone, you show that you see value in them.
Yeah.
So what do you value?
What were you looking for me to say right there?
I don't know. I was just kind of seeing what your opinion was.
Because I was like, whoa, she just surprised me.
I was trying to see what your opinion was.
I mean, I think of honor as just placing value on someone, holding them in a higher place than you would anyone else.
Because honestly, when you honor them, you value them, and when you value them, you want to take care of them.
Wow.
And you want to just make sure that they feel special, and that they feel, you hold them in a higher esteem than anything else, than anybody else, that they are the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
The person.
They are the
person.
They
are your person.
They're your person.
So what are some things you could do in a marriage to show honor?
You know what? I feel like, and not to bring up trust again, but I think, you can honor your spouse by trusting them and by being trustworthy. Okay. I feel like that you can honor your spouse by, again, like taking care of them, taking care of their needs. I had a really, really bad day at work the other day, and I texted Michael, and he was like, okay, I'm going to take you to dinner. Decide where you want to go, and I'll rub your feet. And I know that might sound silly.
I didn't rub your feet.
No, there's a rain check on that. But, but
the jury's still out on the foot rubbing.
It may sound silly, but that's honoring.
Yeah, it is. Honor is seeing your spouse as better than yourselves. And again, that's scripture. I mean, when we look at other people as better than, again, not everybody, but this is my wife. This is my ride or die, my till death do us part. And again, our 30 years of marriage have been rocky and up and down and all over the place. But when you learn to honor one another, and here's what's crazy, well, they're not worthy of my honor. They don't deserve my honor. Just give it to them. Mm-hmm. And again, we're not saying, don't misunderstand. We're not saying if you're, in an abusive relationship, just bow down but prefer them. Yeah. How can I serve you? What can I do to help you? Mm-hmm. Again, I'm having a really bad day. You know what? I'm making dinner reservations right now. You don't have to worry about dinner. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of little things show honor. And when you show honor to one another, they know that their value is elevated.
Here's the thing. You can have the crappiest day in the world.
Crap.
I did. Something else, but you could have the crappiest day in the world, but if you go home and you are honored by your spouse, it just kind of makes it better.
I mean, you should look forward to going home after a bad day of work. I remember one time I had a bad day, and I just won. I only had one bad day, but
that's not bad.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just one.
But this person, said, does your wife love you? And I said, yeah. And he said, do your kids love you? And I said, yeah. And he was like, well, at the end of the day, if you're going home to a wife and kids that love you and family that love you, then who cares? Who cares what anyone else thinks? And the reality is that really is true. After a bad day, you shouldn't then be on guard thinking, oh crap, I have to walk into a battlefield at my home. Yeah. That's not how it's supposed to be.
That's right. And so I guess with honor, I want to put it in your minds that honor is value.
It is. It's
and
value.
So how are you valuing?
Showing
how are you
value.
caring for your spouse?
And so again, ask yourself a question. What value am I showing my spouse?
Yep.
My date? What value am I adding to their life? And again, it could be silly things. It could be big things. It could be whatever. But if you're not adding value to their lives, and here's the reality, and this is just going to say this, if you don't honor your spouse, someone else will.
Someone else will.
Someone else will. Someone else, they'll go searching for honor somewhere else. And that's how trouble happens. That's how things start.
That's right.
Is I'm not getting this home. So the last one is to trust, honor. And the last one is RESPECT. That was bad.
That was okay.
I don't know. I just thought about it. Respect. Okay. It's respect.
Yeah. Respect.
Right?
And honestly, respect is having like an admiration for someone. And you can have that based on maybe like something that they do or how you perceive they act or how they handle things or how they carry themselves.
Yeah.
Like respect is given when you really admire or appreciate something or someone.
Yeah. I mean, respect is, and again, typically men want and value respect more than women. It doesn't mean we both don't need it. Women, I think, value love and, that trust, kind of intimacy and those kind of things. Whereas men is like respect. And you know what? It's just little things like, hey, thank you for doing this. I really noticed that you put a lot of time and effort into that. Or, it's showing one another respect. And sometimes, and maybe this could be another podcast talking about the differences between men and women and how we're wired and all of that. But if your husband does something and it's not 100% exactly the way that you would have done it, but yet you show respect to them for the fact that, hey, I noticed you did that, or I noticed you took care of that. Thank you for doing that. And what can be dangerous is like, well, you didn't do it this way, and again, I'm not picking on the women, but I'm saying a lot of times when men and women do the things that they're wired to do, they don't get respect for doing it. They only get told what they did wrong. And that doesn't make anyone feel like, I'm valued, I'm respected in that relationship.
I would say that honor and respect kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
But I tell you what respect not is.
What respect is not.
It's not. What respect is not.
Not is respect we are.
Respect is not talking bad about your spouse in front of your friends or your coworkers.
Okay.
Respect is not, rolling your eyes when you don't like what your date or your spouse does. Like, I mean, respect doesn't always have to be earned. I think sometimes in relationships, because like we might have bad days and we might not feel like respecting or honoring, but we just kind of do it because we took that vow that we were going to honor and respect. Even in fights, we're going to try our best to respect the other. Respect things that they have opinions on and things like that. And it's super important. Like it's important to respect your spouse when you're with them, but also when you're not with them. Like, how do you talk about them? How do you let others perceive them?
Yeah. And the reality is what you just said, something is important to note is that you're not going to always feel like doing these things. You're just not. There are going to be days you don't feel like doing it. You don't want to do it, but you made a decision. You made a choice. You made a promise. You made a covenant. And what's beautiful is those days that it's not just naturally flowing and you choose to do it anyway. Things start to shift. Things start to change. Again, it's not our human nature to go, well, I'm not getting it from you, so I'm just going to give it to you. But honestly, that's the position we should take, because what can happen a lot of times is if one just starts doing and being the wife or the husband that they're supposed to be, often it starts to shift the other one, and it starts becoming a mutual thing. It starts becoming mutually this trust, this honor, this respect. Because if you're always just waiting for it to be earned or for it to be deserved, you're not always going to feel like it is.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool about, like, if you do the traditional vows, like, it does put in what's good and what's bad. Like, I'm going to do all these things. I mean, we've been through the good, bad, and the ugly, and we haven't done things perfect 100% of the time, but we remembered what we said in front of God and our family and our friends, and we made a choice, and we both, buckled down, and we worked hard, and we made it through, and we rebuilt trust, and we honored each other, and we respected each other. And it's not only respecting each other, it's respecting the promises that we made.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there were days we can think back on when it was just the two of us, and who knows what the future holds. And there was, again, all of those things. Like, I do not feel like doing this right now, but I'm gonna keep a promise. I'm gonna keep a covenant. I'm gonna keep those vows that probably nobody that was at our wedding even remotely remembers. But we said them.
Yeah, we did.
And we didn't know when we got married what they meant. We didn't know where they were going to take us. But that's the beautiful thing about a marriage that works, is that on the days that you don't feel like it's working, do it again.
Yeah.
Try it again. Try it a different way. Look at inside at yourself and say, what do I need to do today to show trust, to show honor, to show respect, and let your spouse come along in their time.
Yeah.
Marriage works when you work at it. It's a work in progress. You know what I mean? There's such thing as a marriage work ethic. How long are you willing to work on your relationship? And so for us, again, those vows mean something. And I know for you, when you said those to your spouse, they meant something. And just go back to that point and say, I'm going to keep that promise. I'm going to keep those vows no matter what.
It's important. I feel like it doesn't matter how long you've been married. It's important. Like, we've been married for a long time. And it's, we can always use reminders of, what it takes to help our marriage grow. Like, again, with trust. And if you're not growing in your marriage, I don't care how old you are, how long you've been together. If you're not constantly growing and trying to find new ways to meet each other's needs, then eventually it's going to get stagnant, and stagnant things die. So it's super important to remember all these. So, hey, trust, honor, and respect.
Yeah. So, takeaway from this is, which one of those three do you feel like maybe you need to work on? Maybe you need to trust a little more, or be more trustworthy. Maybe you need to show more honor, or be on, or maybe respect. Maybe you're like, you know what? I'm going to start respecting my spouse more. I'm going to start thanking them and recognizing them for their ability and the things that they do. And, if it's a stay-at-home mom, like, hey, thank you. I realize it's hard work. I appreciate what you do. What can I do to help you? Like, that's all part of showing respect, So trust, honor, respect. So those are vows that we make, and whatever your vows were, you know what? Keep those promises. Right. It's worth it. It is absolutely worth it.
And you know what else is worth it?
What's worth it?
Still celebrating. And we are hoping that you guys are still celebrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're coming up to the mid part of the year, which is crazy to think about. But we're hoping that people are still celebrating.
Yeah. And if you haven't signed up for the Celebrate Your Date Challenge, I know many of you have, you could still go to our website, celebrateyourdate.com, and sign up. All that is on the date of your anniversary. Ours is January 8th, on the 8th of every month, which is today. We're out celebrating. We're not recording this podcast. We are celebrating today. And so we've already, got plans for the next few months. So do that. Just do it. It's an intentional day to celebrate. Sign up. You'll get some emails from us. You'll get a little surprise on the actual day of your anniversary. And we just appreciate you guys following us and joining in.
Share it again. Share it with your friends.
Building that community. Reach out to us at hello@celebrateyourdate.com. We would love to hear from you. What do you want to hear on a future podcast? Like, is there a question you have? Is there a topic you'd like to hear about? Follow us on social media too, Facebook and Instagram. We're at Celebrate Your Date.
Your date.
All right. Well, hey, listen, thanks for giving us the last 20 minutes or so. We went a little long, but last month we were in the super short show.
We did, so maybe we
got
a few minutes over.
We got a little bit of that time back. But hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. And
you know what? I just want to say, your eyes look really pretty today.
Aw.
I was looking at your eyes. They look really pretty.
Aw, you're so sweet. It's because the cameras are rolling.
Yeah, because.
That's why.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding. Have a great rest of your day. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you.